Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about building a mentorship program from the ground up. And hopefully, everybody enjoys what they hear. So, I'm Allison Ruff. I'm a Senior Director of Cybersecurity and Identity and Access Management at Otis Elevator. And I'm really passionate about this particular topic, and here's why. I've been in this field for about 25 years. No comments. And that was before it was called identity, before cyber was called cyber. That's just, it's been a while. But prior to that, I was a mechanical engineer. Now, as you can see, there's a trend there, right? I have a tendency of picking fields that are very male-dominated, especially back when I started. So I found that it was really hard, right, to get my voice heard. It was really challenging when I saw all the men around me getting promoted, and I couldn't figure out, why wasn't I getting promoted? I worked harder. I put in the hours, right? Everything I was doing was successful. So why not get promoted? And I'd have those conversations with my boss. And all I would get during my reviews is, well, you're a little loud and boisterous, so it comes across as disruptive. And I'm thinking to myself, the guy in the office next to me is louder than I am, but he got promoted 3 times. So, and if I had someone to go to, right, someone to talk to, someone to help me realize that it wasn't okay, then maybe I would have had faster career progression. So I had a conversation with our CISO the other day, and he goes, yeah, you interested in becoming a CISO? Let's figure out how to get you there. And I said to him, no, I said, at this age, I think I just want to give back, and I want to help women get to this point at a much earlier point in their career. So when I had started at Otis, one of the things that I really loved about it is that they're really big on what they call inclusion, right? So they have all sorts of things to work on gender equality, diversity, not just gender, but everything, right? So I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I joined Women in Technology ERG and helped them by chairing this program. I started working on it in 2021, and we have been iterating it, and I'll talk about all the details, but I just get so energized every time I have one of my mentees say to me, wow, that makes so much sense, or, my boss just doesn't seem to acknowledge when I talk about things, and then people steal my ideas. How do I get around this? And I'm like, I got lots of ideas for you. So, as you're listening to this, just remember that all it takes is a little passion. And one of the things that sometimes you see out there is that women are not there advocating for each other. We really need to take the time and advocate for each other, and you're really going to see a difference. So that's the agenda. We'll pass through that. Otis Elevator is an elevator company, but just from an identity perspective, right, since it is an identity conference, we have about 82,000 identities that we look at, and none of those are customer, by the way. Those are all just internal, global through the company. So we are a large company, we are a global company, and this program that we built is global. I'll just talk real quickly. Again, I told you about how passionate Otis is about inclusivity. The Women in Technology Employee Resource Group, which is what ERG stands for, they have taken the time, they go out into the community, and then they try to get young women, and young men, right, because they don't, discriminate, and we try to get them interested in STEM fields. Because sometimes they're not getting that same encouragement at home, right? Their parents might have unconscious bias. It might be a cultural thing, right? There could be all sorts of reasons why these young, impressionable women are not even thinking about these type of fields at a young age. So we go out and we go into the community and do that. But my focus has always been on the career support for the women at the company. And that's where this mentorship program comes into play. So it wasn't a short journey, right? We're in 2024 now. Started in 2021 with just a small pilot program. And through continuous improvement, right, we have been growing over the years. So let's talk about why mentorship. It's not just because I'm passionate, because I am, but research actually proves and shows that mentorship works. Right? So if you look at the stats that are up here, right, it's great that people in mentorship program, they get promoted 5 times more often. Right? You've got 87% of people in mentorship programs feel more empowered. And my favorite stat is the fact that if you start off as a mentee, you're going to come back and join the program as a mentor and give back, right? So it's a continuous giving type of program where people get to help each other. So it's so much more than networking. It's being a sounding board, helping to guide, learn from other people's experiences. So when you're building a program, right, think about the fundamentals. It needs to be open conversation. But you're going to have people who don't really know what a mentorship program is. They don't know how to be a mentor. They don't know how to be a mentee. So you need to set those expectations up front. Make sure that they know it's a two-way dialogue. Mentors get things out of the program as well. They actually learn from their mentees. Right? It's not just one way. They need to also respect the conversations that are happening. And most importantly, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So what does it mean to be a mentor? You need to make sure that you define that up front. Right? Remember that a coach talks to you, a sponsor talks about you, but a mentor talks with you. Right? And there really is a very, very big difference. So make sure when you build a program like that, that you make sure that people understand that. The other thing that's really important while you're setting those expectations is you need to make sure your mentees are engaged. They need to define their goals. They need to be in it, right? So what we did is made sure that that mentee understood that they were the ones taking the initiative. They were the ones setting up the meetings with the mentor, right? And they had to have respect for that person's time, so they needed to come prepared with things that they wanted to talk about. Our mentorship program grew. And one of the things that we did is we would send out surveys and get information so that we would keep improving. We knew what was working, what wasn't working, and we'd iterate, right? Everybody talks about agile development. It doesn't have to be just for technology, right? So we went from 27 people to 63 people to 137 people, and we're way over 150 as of this year. So we'll talk about how, some of the things that we did to grow it. Surveys to your members that are part of the program. Find out what it means to them. Just because I'm passionate about it and I know what it means to me, I need to understand what does it mean to the people that are in this program. And you can see all the different words that they use to, tell us what they thought was important. So it actually tied back to the fact that we were helping with their career. And that, to me, is just so invaluable. What we did at the very beginning is made sure that we set it up for a one-to-one. There were some people who were like, "Ooh, can I sign up for multiple mentors?" Well, you got to make sure you have enough mentors. Otherwise, there are going to be people who don't get one. So we did limit it that way and made sure that they only got one from the start. The other thing that we did is that some people had actually told us through the survey they wanted a little more structure. They were running out of what to talk about, right? Or at least to kickstart that relationship, because not everybody's a type A personality like me. So they're like, what do we talk about? And yes, you have the goals that the mentee has set for themselves, But even then, sometimes they're really not sure what their goals are. They just know they feel this need for something. So Otis has certain leadership behaviors that our HR folks have us measure people on. And what we decided to do is every month do a presentation and get somebody who is really strong at one of these things. And we'd schedule that out. We'd invite people. Again, it's not mandatory. And make sure it was two-way conversation. So it wasn't just the presentation, right? There'd be a little bit of material. But the people were pulling in the audience to make sure that they were talking about their experiences. And, what does imagination mean to them? What does empathy mean to them? How can that impact what they do every day? So these sessions actually really helped. And then a lot of our mentors were like, wow, now I know something that I can talk to my mentee about this month. Because here's an important topic that Otis values. We made sure that we had a lot of places where they can get information. So we had Teams channels and SharePoints. So make sure you build out resources for them, right? Because they're going to be looking for, what do I talk about? How do I build a trusted relationship? So let's talk a little about how we executed the program, just to kind of, give you some ideas. Again, this isn't set in stone. You could do it any way you want. But what we did is we sent out a SharePoint survey. Easy to build, right? Then people would fill it out. We gave them 2 weeks to fill out the survey. And behind the scenes, we were manually matching people, right? Took a lot of time. So definitely an area for improvement, and one of the things that we did over time. Then we wanted to empower them a little bit more, because if you're just matching based on data, it's very much like when you pick a therapist. You need to have some kind of connection with that person. So we would give them 3 potential matches and ask them to meet with these people, talk to them, get to know them, and see who they think might be a really good match based on what their goals are, but what the mentor's goals were and what they wanted to give back. Then we had them rank their top 3, which is their top, which is their second, their third, and then we used that information in making that final selection. We also had the mentors tell us what they thought about the mentees. So if they had talked to 5 different mentees, they might really feel passionate about working with a particular person. So we made it that two-way conversation. Then we did the final matchings, right? Gave it a week. Then we did a kickoff. So we invited everybody. And yes, it meant doing one for our European, counterparts, EMEA, that time zone, one at night for Asia Pac, during the day for here in the US, Latin America. So, and what we did during there is talked about some of those things I talked about at the beginning, setting those expectations, reminding them what the definition of a mentor is, a mentee is, giving them links to training. LinkedIn has a bunch of training for how to be a good mentor, or how to be a mentee. Right? So there's a lot of tools out there that people can use. You don't have to recreate the wheel. Right? So it gives you things that you can use. Surveys, right? So at least twice a year, survey the people that are involved, get some stats, right? I mean, the fact that 85% said that the relationship added value to them, that makes you feel good, right? It's not a waste of anybody's time, so they keep coming back. 85% said that the supporting resources that we gave them were helpful. Well, that's good, right? So we just continued to create or to fix what was going on. I wanted to share a couple of quick quotes. I won't read them all, but I think some of the ones that really, really stick with me is over on the right. We had a mentee in Egypt. I'm really grateful for this program. I'm in a very critical period in my career and life. And my mentor is really helping me and doing her best to support and guide me in what I am going through. Sometimes I think I would not make it without her honest advices and her support, or at least her caring to listen and being there whenever I ask for help. I know, that gives me the chills, right? To know that somebody is really getting so much value out of something that is really something that's not our job, but we're doing it to help others. So one of the things that I just wanted to show real quick is these are the survey questions. We gave people the opportunity to be a mentor or a mentee or both. Remember time and language, right? Because those are constraints, and you need to make sure that you're understanding that from people's perspective when you do a global program. Then have them put where it is that they're looking to grow, and have them have like 2 choices so it helps you in your matching. And that multiple choice is really helpful if you're going to start automating that matching, because if you let things just be freeform, you're going to have trouble making that matching stick. But also gather some information that is open-ended, because that will help initiate that initial conversation when they're trying to figure out who that right match is. Again, give them resources. Right? We did all sorts of things, building trust and defining relationship, reflection and feedback, all sorts of things that they can go back to and look at and help them guide conversations. We also did videos. We had mentors do a video on why being a mentor is important to them, and what approach they would take to helping a mentee. So again, another way for mentees to, if they didn't have time to meet, to figure out who might be a good match for them, because we only gave them a certain amount of time to make that happen. And remember, if you don't communicate, and communicate, and communicate, people won't even know the program's out there. So it's not going to be successful. So remember to leverage all your possible distribution channels to get that information out there. Because a lot of times when these employee resource groups are first created, everyone's like, yeah, this is great. And then they forget they're there. Right? So you have to just keep communicating. That's very, very important. If you're still going to the office, post flyers. We have this year partnered with other employee resource groups that are out there. So we actually have 4 groups that are now participating in the program. Started off just women in technology. Now we've got all sorts of other women's groups that are joining forces with us and helping the program grow. And get your leaders engaged. You need your leaders to talk about it at their town halls, push that information out, but give them templates to use so it's not a lot of work for them. And that will guarantee that they'll actually take the time to do it. This year, we actually built a mentor match app. And by doing that, people could go online, fill out the information, right? So it's actually in a Power BI, right? We have one of our really smart women who built that out. And then you see at the bottom, this is what you would filter on, right? So it's more like a dating app now. We're not manually going to do the matching. You're going to decide what points are important to you. Language, time, whatever is important. And then it will bring up people from around the company that fit that criteria. You get to choose. You click into it, and you'll see their profile. And then you get to choose, all right, who do I want to meet? Who do I want to talk to? If you want to set up a meeting with 5 people, set up meetings with 5 people. 10, 1, right? It's up to you. The other thing that we were able to do with this program this year is it's now a rolling program. So like a dating app, you can show yourself as open to new mentees or closed, right? So if you have enough, you close yourself, and that way you're not taking on more than you can. But now when people join the company, they can actually join the program and not have to wait till the next year. So let's talk real quickly about lessons learned, and then I'll open it up for questions. So I think I talked a little about the matching. It was very time intensive as it started growing, so make sure you find ways to automate. We talked about the fact that new employees couldn't join, right? That was important. Language barriers is definitely a challenge, and we're still trying to figure that out, maybe through translation tools that can happen when you're having conversations. We haven't quite figured that one out yet, but there were some matches that just didn't work. I personally had a mentee who is in Latin America, and her English was not her first language. In fact, she barely spoke any English at all. So it was not the most successful of my mentee-mentor relationships. Some want structure, others don't. So learn from our experience, start your own program, just find a couple of passionate people at your company. And it doesn't have to be just women, by the way. Male allies, right? You just need to make sure that they're really interested and willing to take some time. You need to be able to distribute it, but start with a small pilot and grow from there, right? You don't have to have a lot of tools. Yeah, we have a Power BI expert who built us a tool now, but we started small. And remember to template things, automate things, and make sure that those mentees have the ability to meet people first before making that final selection, because it really does make it much more successful. So I hope that everybody understands that if you build a playbook for the things that are working, it makes it easy to continue the program. So all I ask is, take the time, make it happen, take that leap of faith, because it really does help other women in the long run. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? In the back.
Is this something that you need funding for, or at Otis is it essentially, like, do you have to go to your boss and ask for money for something like to start something like this?
Nope, didn't cost a cent. It just takes a little bit of time and energy from people out of their busy workday to be able to make it happen.
From a sponsor, like, have you seen any changes in terms of like sponsorship that women are getting promoted? Or are you doing some metrics around, how does that improve and advance the women within your organization?
We've started pulling those metrics. We haven't quite fine-tuned the question, if you will, right? Because people have to volunteer that information. But every little piece of data that you can gather to get those metrics, because measuring is important to see where your success is. So like I said, we started off finding out in our engineering area that they're actually retaining more women, right? So that was a big metric for us right there.
Yeah, since they commit for a year, how often do they meet with their mentee? You mentioned it's like a monthly series, but I didn't know if that was just a meeting that they join once a month, or if that's often to meet.
So that's just an extra, right? That's just the people who want to go. What we don't dictate it. That's part of the setting the goals, and part of that matching is that, I want to meet weekly, right? The mentor only wants to meet every other week. Well, that might not be a good match for me, right? So that's part of the questions that you ask so that you get matched with whoever you want. I meet with my mentees every other week, and about an hour at a time. Well, the first step is find a few other people to help you, because it's too much work for one person. And I would say create that survey, right? And find the channel where you can then invite people in. If you have employee resource groups, work with them, because they have groups of people that they can communicate to. So it might help get that going. I'd say it's a mixture. The majority is through video conference. A lot of people don't go into the office. So I got lucky during one of my relationships where she actually came in once in a while, so we actually met in person. But I would say the majority of them are actually just through video conferencing. Anybody else? I'm trying to think of the breakdown. I want to say we started off really struggling on the mentor side. A lot of people wanted to join the program and get a mentor, but getting mentors was tough. But I would say that we had a lot of mentors that had to take on multiple mentees because there were a lot more mentees than mentors. So I don't know if that answers the question without exact numbers. I'm trying to think of right now, I think we have about 61 or 71 mentors, and the rest are mentees in that 150 plus pool that we have. So.
And how many mentees do you have?
I started off just taking on one because I was worried that I wouldn't have the time to run the program and mentee. This year I had 3 people reach out asking me to be their mentor, and I didn't have the heart to say no, so I actually have 3 now. So, but I think they're going to kick us out of here. So everybody, enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you for your time.